Hello, this is Kaan from Turkey. I'm an aquaculture professional and I'm trying to improve the perception of seafood consumption. Welcome to my podcast, which is named Understanding Underwater, and this is a long journey of almost 20 episodes. Today, we are going to discuss a very interesting topic in a premium aquaculture the history of oyster in France. Let's talk about it. The history of oyster farming in France goes back to the 16th century. Although production has fluctuated through history for various reasons, France is today among the most important producers of oysters thanks to effective promotion and cultivation practices. We can really divide oyster farming in France into three parts through history. The first of these is the phase between the 16th and 19th centuries. During this phase, oysters were harvested from the wild and taken to primitive aquaculture facilities. This was a period was more uncontrolled and open to external factors than today. The 19th and the mid-20th centuries are defined as the middle stage. And during this period, different countries, such as Japan, become involved in oyster farming. At the same time, there were some problems in aquaculture operation in France due to disease affecting oysters. Although France's ability to grow oysters was hampered for a time by major diseases affecting oysters, fisheries researchers specializing in oysters have become better at treating oyster diseases. The period from 20th century to today is defined as the modern phase, and oyster studies in France are at their peak during this time. Generally, family businesses continue this business today. Currently, oyster farming is carried out in two regions in France. They are the Atlantic coast and the Mediterranean coast. The productivity on the Atlantic coast is higher than on the Mediterranean coast because of the temperature of the Mediterranean is higher than the of Atlantic. The growth rate of oysters, like all types of fisheries, depends on factors such as water temperature, food availability, and health. Oysters grow faster in waters with more suitable temperatures and in areas with abundant nutrients. So, you may wonder why a species native to Pacific was brought from Japan to France. The answer is simple. The Japanese Pacific oyster is more resistant to disease and more productive than native European flat oyster. The French government also provided financial support to the oyster industry to bring this sector to a better place, and thanks to this support, the quality of oyster farming practices in France improved and production increased. When we want to look into oyster market in France, oysters are sold fresh on the market and they are often eaten raw from the shell. Currently, annual production meets France's domestic market demands, and there is very little trade with other countries. Oysters are considered traditional, affordable luxury products. Christmas and New Year's time are when oysters are consumed the most. Oysters will still have a very good image among seafood. In addition, consumers are becoming more concerned about the source of the product. Therefore, the promotion of oyster is done in two ways. by norms such as size, condition, and filling index, and by identifying the product's real certificates and labels. In this section, let's talk about some basic information about oysters in France. The top oyster producing regions in France are Marne-Lorraine, the Bay of Arcachon, and the Bretagne region. And the most popular oyster species in France is the Pacific oyster that name is Grassoteria gigas. France produces approximately 130,000 tons of oyster per year. The French oyster industry employs approximately 10,000 people, and the value of the French oyster industry is estimated at around 100 million euros per year. We should talk about the classification and marketing of oysters in this section. In France, oysters are sold similarly to mussels, that's by the kilo or the by piece. Oysters are classified between 0 and 5 according to their unopened weight, with 0 being the largest and 5 being the smallest oysters. French consumers most frequently consume number 3, which weighs between 66 and 85 grams. The classification of boiled oyster is based on the percentage of the soft tissue. If this value is less than 6.5, oysters are not classified. When the index is between 6.5 and 10.5, they are called good. The oysters are classified as special when the index is above 10.5. The classes finds the claries and specials. The claries refer to oysters that have been refined exclusively in saltwater ponds. Thanks for joining me today and meet the delicious world of oysters. From the ocean to our tables, it's been a fantastic journey. If you found today's episode as fascinating as I did, you are in for a treat in the upcoming episodes. We'll be exploring more sea adventures and diving into unique seafood topics. Do not miss out on the next wave of excitement. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Whether you are a seafood enthusiast or just love a good story, there's something for everyone. And hey, if you have a favorite seafood dish or a seafood story to share, I would love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media and let's make this podcast a community of sea lovers. Thanks again for being part of this journey. Until next time, stay curious, stay adventurous, and stay hooked on the Sea and Seafood podcast. See you next episode.